Whoever's asked about our playoff hopes, I don't think we ever had playoff hopes. But we're certainly our non-playoff reality. Our goal is Pasadena.
Steak will be here.
The game changed for me was we're up 14-0, and Utah scored 14-7, and they looked pretty good on that score. And then we basically got hypnotized, seduced, whatever you want to call it. But our next drive was 4 plays, 65 yards, including a long pass to Mario Williams to the 3-yard line. The first quarter ended, and then Travis Dye ran for 1 yard. And then Caleb Williams on the 4th play threw it to Kyron Ware-Hudson for a touchdown, 21-7. And at that point, it was easy, right? But at that point, you got to realize, hey, we need to manage the clock because, hey, this is a huge crowd. You've taken them out of the game. You need to give your defense a rest, right?
Okay, guys, the fire Alex Grinch, you can just stop. That is like actually pretty stupid. We know you're frustrated,
Tony,
but it's actually pretty stupid.
Let's just let Rick talk and ignore those guys.
Okay.
If we keep breaking it, it's not gonna.
Because that's where you got to take responsibility. You can blame the refs. You can blame Alex Grinch. I'm sorry, but it goes to Lincoln Riley. He's the head coach. Yeah, you go on the road, you pack your defense in a running game. Okay, we did that last game at Washington State in the Coliseum. Okay, and you need to eat clock and keep the ball away from Rising and Kincaid, and you didn't. So whose fault is that? Alex Grinch's? If you want to say that and feel better so you can sleep at night and not cry, well, then so be it. If you want to blame the refs, yeah, go ahead and blame the refs. USC lost. We're not a playoff team. If you guys believe we're a playoff team, change your media because those guys don't know what they're talking about. It's ridiculous. Don't be hypnotized. Don't be an idiot. Don't be a Michael Ford who's calling us jack-offs and the jack-off gives us the wrong score. Don't be a jack-off like Michael Ford. Be intelligent. This was, basically USC still controls its destiny if you want to do the math. We're 4-1 in the Pac-12.
Yep.
UCLA has got to go play at Oregon. They can very well lose that game. And then we play UCLA on November 19th. If we have one loss and we go 8-1, there's an opportunity to play in the Pac-12 championship. So stop about it. We lost. Big deal.
And again, this was a game that we all probably thought we would lose for the whole rest of the season, guys. Everybody's acting like it's in a panic. You guys actually sound like Big 12 fans, some folks. Like
you want to get off the Trojan bandwagon
just a sec.
Do we want to go back to the Helton days, guys? Come on.
Yeah, no, we don't. He says, don't give up on us yet. Guys, UCLA is probably going to lose to Oregon. This whole conference is going to be a wild showdown until the end, probably.
Yeah.
It's going to be something else.
Well,
it would have been nice if we won.
Going back to the race, though, we don't control our own destiny. Here's why, Rick. And here's the scenario. So we don't play Oregon this year. And I believe Oregon has 0 losses, correct, in conference? Is that right?
Correct.
So the issue is now we're tied with the Utes, but they get the tiebreaker because they've beaten us head-to-head. So they play each other, which is a good thing. But let's just say that Utah beats Oregon. That gives us all 1 loss in conference, right? And let's just say, hypothetically, we beat UCLA. That means we all have 1 loss in conference, correct?
Yeah. Let's wait until we see what UCLA and Oregon do before we do 8 million rabbit holes.
I'm clearing up the fact that we don't control our own destiny. So
there's a lot of football still to be played. To be honest,
it'll be interesting to see what goes on.
Tim, you bring up the point.
A and B and B and A and A and B and C and D all happen, then we don't control our own destiny. But at the same time, we don't know what's going to happen yet.
Here, so
hold on.
There's a lot of football to be played.
Hold on. If we go through and only end up with 1 loss and we beat UCLA hypothetically, and then Utah only has 1 loss, well, then us 2 would qualify. That's what I'm saying. We control our own destiny. Okay? You understand with that? Because that would mean that Utah would have to beat Oregon, correct?
Right.
Oregon would have one loss,
Mhm.
and then we would beat UCLA. But you really don't know until UCLA plays Oregon next week. All we could do is win out and beat UCLA and be 8-1. And if there's two other teams that are 8-1, well, then we're going to have to sort it out with head-to-heads and.
Correct, and that's our concern, Rick. Because like in my scenario, Oregon's is probably gonna if they're the ones that right. So they lose to Utah, but we don't have a tiebreaker against them. They have a tiebreaker against us. So yeah, there's a lot of scenarios we don't control our own destiny, and we're assuming, and we have to assume that Oregon gets the. So I mean, there's too much. We don't control our destiny.
Tim, we all concede that we don't control our own destiny, but we also understand that there is so much football to be played that it is not a worthwhile endeavor right now at this particular moment to chase it down.
It's clearing it up because we just said that we had our own destiny and we don't.
Well, we certainly control our own destiny to at least a potential Rose Bowl. There's a lot that is still okay.
Remember last week you guys said we're bowl eligible.
Exactly, guys. We won 4 games last year.
We're bowl eligible.
We're bowl eligible. We're gonna go to a good bowl game. Yeah, I mean that's exactly. We're bowl eligible. Let's keep that in mind.
Great weekend.
Yeah, I want serious. Hey, I want to get back to that question about injuries, but yeah, serious drama. No shame in this. It was a wild game, and I'll tell you guys what'll also be really interesting is how do we come back from this? Does this inspire the team? We luckily have kind of a bit of a powder puff schedule for the next few weeks. We got a bye week. We got Colorado on a Friday night at home. We've got Cal. We've got Arizona. So, we've got some time to get things back in gear. And a lot of times with teams, I mean, you guys all know teams like a loss like this can galvanize a team. This is Lincoln Riley's first loss at USC.
Well, the biggest thing is on that stretch you're talking about, especially having that bye week, is going to allow us to get healthy. We do not know the nature of the injuries. I'm assuming it seem like they're both ankle or foot injuries to Gentry and to Addison. It'll be good to get them back, hopefully healthy in time to playing UCLA. So this next stretch should be comfortable for us and give us an opportunity to get healthy and win.
Yeah, and if we win those games, I know, hey, you can't assume anything. I mean, how many people had Stanford going in and beating Notre Dame at home? Okay, so you got to play the games. But if we are fortunate to win the next 3 games, then we would be 9-1 going into UCLA and Notre Dame. So as Tony mentioned, we have a bye week. We go into Tucson. We play Arizona. And then we come home and we don't leave LA for the last 4 games. So you got to love that. And you fight on. And you learn from this game because there's going to be more difficult games. And we're going to have to go into the Rose Bowl and beat UCLA. And everything is going to be on the line for that game should we take care of business and win the 3 games that we just talked about. So, we lost a 1 point. Hey, credit Utah for going for 2. How ballsy was that? So
that was so ball, especially LBC, because you're right, because they had struggles getting it in from the 2.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, that's really actually a compliment to USC. When you're at home, typically you don't go for 2. On the road, you definitely do. And so they felt the pressure. He made the call, great call. Whittingham didn't get to where he is right now, and they don't have this great home winning streak the way they do without making good calls. And he's the dean of the conference, and that's why I just kept shaking my head when people were dismissing this game as an easy win.
I know you guys are feeling it right now, but it'll get better. I mean, Utah is a really good football team, as you all have said so often. And
it looked good.
One
Didn't
big
they,
thing that I saw. Yes.
Oh, I'm over it. I'm cool. No problems here. I mean, I had this down as a loss, so I'm playing with house money. I mean, I hate to, burst the bubble for those unrealistic Trojan fans that thought we were going to go undefeated and go to the playoff. I mean, you guys are just different cats. You're a different breed, but just be realistic. And we're competing for the Pac-12 championship game, and nobody in the Pac-12 has ever gone undefeated to qualify for the Pac-12 championship game. So it's not a big deal. You learn from this, you move on, you fight on.
And this is a good news we got. Again, if we had the traditional model where we had the North and the South, this loss would probably be the end of our chances of making the playoff.
Right.
But a lot of combinations can happen to keep us alive for that Rose Bowl. And to go from 4-8 to maybe 10-2 in a Rose Bowl berth, or maybe even dare we even dream to be 11-1 and going to the championship game, that would be incredible.
Hey, Robert Jenkins got a good comment there. He says Utah's not good. I agree with you, Robert, because Utah's not the same team when they're away from Rice Eccles. They're 14-12, but they're 22-1 in their last 23 games at Rice Eccles. It's a different team, you know. And there's a lot of teams that aren't good when they play on the road versus when they play at home. A lot of people will say Kentucky's not very good, and I think I'm the only one in our Pick'ems group, Patreon Pick'ems group, Tim, that took Kentucky, and they beat Mississippi State today, straight up. So
They did.
Teams have off days. Hey, Stanford sucks, right? We all agree on that. They went in and they beat Notre Dame.